But welcome everybody. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to hit the subscribe button.
I remember in middle school when you felt self-conscious if you were the last one to go through puberty. That really went topsy-turvy, didn't it?
Sometimes the Hasbara, it's too much explaining yourself and it's too apologetic.
Be sure to hit the notifications bell.
I actually do believe Israel won't just bomb countless civilians.
Be sure to tweet this out. Be sure to put this up on your Facebook.
You have to be kind to people. Be kind to the guys in this mess in the first place.
Put this up on your Reddit.
Chile is a country.
Be sure to cut and paste, a link to this to go into your favorite Facebook chat group.
It's good to see so many normal people in here.
Now, spanking isn't just my deep, dark personal secret. It's America's deep, dark secret.
I've never seen it explained so simply anywhere.
Put this on WhatsApp. Put this on Telegram. Put this on your favorite messenger app.
Hello, and welcome to the Untitled Anarchist Seagull channel. I'm your host, an Untitled Anarchist Seagull called Elise, and this is the channel where we make the content that the massive, just growing blob of AI slop on YouTube can't. Or won't. I will leave it up to AI slop to decide whether it can't or won't. How's everybody doing, chat? It's been a fucking week again. And I thought, I was kind of curious about, this showed up in my recommendations this week. It's a Taylor Lorenz video called The Radicalization Pipeline Nobody Sees Coming, and there was something about, and in one previous version of it, there was something about dark woke, which I've never heard about. So I'm kind of curious to see what she's talking about, so I thought we might have a little look at that. Got a couple of other things. Hello, Badger. How you doing? So I thought
they are totally fine with throwing marginalized people under the bus so long as they get to an avenue.
Okay.
Of potentially helping them out.
As liberals struggle.
Okay. Just gonna drop the link to this in chat. I'm probably not gonna watch the whole thing, but just kind of curious what she's talking about, especially with the reference to dark woke.
With how to respond to rising fascism and Trump's popularity online, growing swaths of the left have embraced...
Okay, here we go. What is dark woke? Like, has anyone... Chat, hey, Adria, has anyone heard of dark woke? Like, literally, I had never heard those words put together until one of the thumbnails for this Taylor Lorenz video.
A messaging strategy broadly known.
Democrats are trying out a new attitude. It's provocative, edgy, and perilously towing the line of not being too offensive. Okay. That doesn't make me feel at all sick. Like, what exactly do you mean by that, New York Times?
Known as dark woke. While traditional Democrats are still often pushing the idea of civility in politics and finding common ground with conservatives, more people on the left are becoming comfortable embracing outright bigotry, slurs, hateful rhetoric, dunking on conservatives, and going full dark woke.
Okay, those things aren't all the same, though. Like, it's dunking on reactionaries and bigotry. Like, those things don't even really go together. Not really effectively. Because if you're dunking on reactionaries, you're dunking on bigotry, for the most part.
Twitch streamer Sean DeBlack has been talking a lot about this on his stream, and today he's joining me to discuss the rise of woke culture in American politics, how social justice movements have been warped by the internet, and break down what dark woke really means. And
because, I mean, it actually sounds, like, from the description so far, it actually sounds like a new version of anti-woke. In other words, just fast shit, racist shit.
whether it's actually a winning strategy to counter Trump's dominance online and off. Hi, Sean. Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, I'm so excited to chat with you today. Before we dive into Dark Woke today,
I feel like I've seen him like on other channels that I've occasionally watched, though not really familiar.
I want to kind of take people back to the origins of like woke culture, woke 1.0, if you will. When do you think this sort of idea of like wokeism arose?
So I think from my perspective, because I'm younger, what I saw was more of like during like Trump won, that era is where you saw like a lot of like resistance liberalism in like reaction to Trump won. So you saw like a very wide backswing from that in conjunction with a lot of the stuff that I saw with like Black Lives Matter and like...
No, but that, I mean, that's not where woke came from, though. I mean, woke is a much older term than that. I mean, around Trump won, what you actually, what you get is that's around the time that the far right starts using woke as a pejorative. Until then, it had not really been that.
Like, you know, anti-police brutality movements and like starting in 2014, going into like 2020 with like was the big resurgence of that movement as well.
Yeah, I feel like this idea of like woke, and certainly the first time I heard the term woke, even though I know it predates this, was 2017, was the beginning of Trump 1.0.
In that era, you saw a rise of like anti-SJW culture and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, basically, she became aware of this around the time the far right was slagging these things off and making up terms like social justice warrior. So, actually, a little bit late.
So when Trump won, you saw like a lot of like bravado from those sects of like, you know, individuals, or like, you know, like Ben Shapiro's and Steven Crowder's, and then you saw a huge reaction to them. I think resistance is honestly kind of the best word for it, because that kind of felt like we kind of peaked. Like we are at the height of fascism. Trump's in office, and like, what do we do? And there was a lot of energy behind it.
Wait, I love the idea that like that was the height of fascism.
Well, I mean, yeah. Looking back, it is a little bit optimistic.
I mean, we are like, it couldn't get any worse than this.
Okay, but I'm going to skip ahead because I want to talk about whatever the hell dark woke is.
You know,
And
absorbing
so,
those progressive...
I mean, rather than talking primarily about like 2014.
The idea of woke, which is like more radical and just kind of like tried to like mainstream it into this like movement for profit ultimately. And
yes.
I've made a whole video on sort of like the death of like resistance culture, and I think like part of it was just that it got so kind of like parody level. And
well, I mean, there you have to distinguish between the actual resistance that was going on and all these grifters and like politicians who were trying to sort of hitch on to that, often at the same time as they rejected any kind of resistance, and themselves didn't seem to have all that many problems with Trump.
also really focused, I think, almost too heavily on identity. And I don't want to say that because I hate the way that people put like identity politics against class politics when they're completely together. But I covered the Bernie campaign for the first 3 months in 2016 before he dropped out. And I remember going to Bernie speeches and then covering that same election and going to like Hillary speeches. And, you know, you did have this more like left-wing part of the party that really wanted to go hard and really wanted to talk about economic inequality, and actually was a very diverse
See, I mean, yes, although calling them part of the party, I think, implies that the party actually is a thing. I mean, really, to the extent that there is an actual organization that you can call a party, it is a handful of people, and they're in pretty broad agreement with each other. The people that she's talking about right now are people who vote for members of the party. They don't have any fucking say in anything, which is why, like, the leadership doesn't give a shit what they think.
But they were sort of so effectively silenced by the Hillary Clinton, like, I'm the first female president and representation matters, and like this sort of like fake version of,
well, I mean, at the same time she was talking about fucking super predators
of progress.
100%.
Okay, so to move through time, we have like woke culture pervading
Okay, we're still not really where okay, we've talked about this plenty. How about we talk about, actually, I want to know what the dark woke shit is.
people just kind of being like, oh, what is the meme? It's like, I'm a non-binary teen, or I'm a 14-year-old like non-binary minor or something, like you can't bully me or something. Of course there was some of that, but as you mentioned, it was this sort of like collective effort to hold people accountable, and it sucks that I feel like a lot of it ended up like this idea of progressivism and wokeism got wrapped up in conservatives kind of mischaracterizing that as like cancel culture. Because when I think
well, I mean, that is precisely what they were doing, though. I mean, I don't think you can really. Of course, they're going to attack it, especially if they're going to attack anything that's about accountability, because they don't want accountability. And when accountability started coming around and also affecting Democrats, I mean, that's when Me Too got killed.
2020, I also think of like peak like cancel culture, and really what so much of quote unquote cancel culture was actually people for the first time ever being held accountable for like really abhorrent behavior and actions.
Yeah, not even just people. It was like
Okay, I mean, we're still okay. I'm trying to skip ahead because I have a tendency. I think you may have noticed it, that I can go on a bit, even though I'm out actually the part of the video I actually wanted to talk about, because I find something else to say. So I'm trying to do less of that so we can actually look at the stuff that I actually want to talk about once I find it.
To like, you know, stand in solidarity with the situation. Like everybody knew that like they were all, you know, either off from work or off for school. When they went out, they knew that other people were going through the same thing as them. And so I think people kind of craved the normalcy.
Joe Biden. But when TV news covered it, a local station misinterpreted this as "Let's Go Brandon," which was essentially, they were claiming, was in support of Joe Biden. This immediately became a meme online.
Yes, okay. Back when right-wingers pretended that they had invented hating Joe Biden because they just Columbus everything.
Mainstream Democratic establishment.
No, Biden White House embraces dark Brandon. Yeah, I mean, I have to say, we did see the darkest fucking Brandon ever. But, okay.
That really used dark woke and sort of mainstream the meme was back in 2022. This guy, Professor Roy Hinckley, who's...
Which collaboration between Taylor Lorenz and Shonda Black? Who I'm actually not... I've, like, seen his face around, like, I feel like I've watched channels and he's been on and collabed, but I'm not actually familiar with him. I mean, so far he's, I mean...
PhD posted, "We turned the hashtag maggot and QAnon use of Brandon around with dark Brandon."
No, you really didn't, though.
Suddenly, the phrase "Let's go Brandon" seems to have disappeared from all but huge 4x4 trucks. Let's do it again. I'm not...
No, I mean, wow, what a wonderful fucking victory, though. I mean, that's what we all needed, was, like, to see fewer people saying, "Let's go, Brandon."
Woke, I'm hashtag dark woke. First of all, like, even the hashtag MAGAT, which, like, I feel weird even saying because it sounds so close to an actual slur, feels weird. And, like, that appearing in, like, the first post that really went viral, like, mainstreaming.
Okay, so this does actually go back a little bit, but okay, somehow I managed to avoid it, and I have to say, I'm actually quite happy to have avoided it, but now now it showed up in my recommendations, and I'm curious what the hell we're talking about.
Idea of dark woke, like...
And that's why I'm skipping through this till I find the part where we're actually talking about the thing that I was actually interested in looking at and talking about.
It's like they're already basically trying to say slurs.
I think people were already kind of there, because you did have a dirtbag left, like a small subset of the left that were okay with like towing the line between reactionary sentiment and like economic populism, and like, but that was like a fringe.
No, yes, and a lot of them just very quickly became just outright Nazis. But I don't even think that's necessarily the people who were cheering, since this is so much associated with Joe Biden fans, and Joe Biden's support has always been fairly right-wing.
Of like the like left-wing, and even in like leftist circles, like the people who engaged with that content were already considered fringe, but now it's like kind of seeping into the mainstream by liberals now being like, oh, this was a thing that people did. Let's just keep doing this again. And that kind of explodes into what we see now as like dark woke.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, this is back in 2022. I feel like it sort of escalates, maybe falls back a little bit down when like Joe Biden is sidelined and then Kamala Harris comes around and we had like coconut pilled, you know, DNC.
No, which was, I mean, that is so wild. This, like, all these, like, all these white liberals calling Kamala Harris a coconut. Like, did they know what they were saying?
Memes like leaning into that for a while, but
Did
then
they know what that fucking means? That became her like emoji on Twitter.
Trump wins, and I feel like Trump's win,
That's not a nice thing to say about a person, actually.
Because he won the popular vote, was seen as this like affirmation of reactionary culture, where it was like you saw even like the New York Mag like Cruel Kids cover and the media talking about like, okay, the right has achieved cultural dominance. Like,
yeah, and the thing is, that was always inaccurate. Yeah, I mean, so far from what I've seen, skipping through this whole thing, he seems good. I mean, I haven't seen anything that he said that I particularly disagree with here. But let's just pause for a second. There was this attempt immediately after the election result to pretend that 20%, 1 in 5 eligible voters voting for Trump somehow meant that the far right had achieved cultural dominance, and that there was then there was this whole flurry of articles about how, we're not seeing any kind of resistance anywhere, well, nobody's protesting. It's like, no, you're not covering it. If anything, there's been more of it, and it has started earlier.
We're back. Everybody can say slurs again. We've undone all the past several years of progress, decade of progress, and like made America great again.
Yeah, they're hoping.
And I feel like this is when you start to...
It doesn't seem to be doing well for Target, apparently. That boycott, since they decided to get rid of the sort of merit hiring policies and civil rights compliance that is called DEI in corporate speak, their sales have actually really gone down the gurgler.
See like liberals and leftists like really kind of not know how to navigate it. And I mean, I started to see a lot of the
I have to say I haven't seen that
woke hashtag really emerge first in like representatives responding critically and sort of like honestly fighting back. Like, I think people were so desperate for anybody to fight back because the Democratic Party is so impotent that like when AOC replied to Libs of TikTok was reposting something about like Trump and this and stuff, and AOC replied like cry more, and that went really viral. Or Jasmine Crockett, who is sort of known for like these clapbacks online, and like people would be like dark woke, like we're done with civility politics, you know.
Like, and it's interesting, apparently, it seems that the being done with civility politics amongst liberals, especially amongst, like, ruling class liberals, has immediately moved over into, like, let's do some far-right shit.
You know, like, we're sort of, quote, treating MAGA the same way that they've been treating everyone else. There is one tweet...
Oh, okay. That I had not seen that, but that's good. Actually, now you mention that, maybe that is where I've seen him. I feel like, because I'd watched a couple of videos, a couple of, like, streams and stuff from, I think, Majority Report and a few others, and I believe he might have been on one of them talking about, you know, this absurd attempt to get everybody to pretend to be sad.
From an account called Dark Wokeness that became popular, posted right after the election last year, that said, "For a moment, wokeness was beautiful. We almost did it. Oppression for oppressors."
That's not what that is.
But we're all oppressors. It's in our species DNA. So naive wokeness could never work. Only dark wokeness could work.
What
it
the fuck
always
is
comes down to the same thing. Millions must die.
Okay, I've never heard of this, and I've never seen that tweet. But, okay, that's fucked up. Like, well, what's the date on that? It doesn't have a date. Because I'm just kind of curious, was this, like, before the genocide started, or was this after the genocide started?
Only dark wokeness could work. It always comes down to the same thing. Millions must die. Just like, what?
I've never seen that before. That's insane.
According to Know Your Meme, this was like a...
Good to know I'm not alone there.
pivotal like tweet, I guess. But I did definitely see a lot more like accounts that I would say are of dubious origins leveraging dark woke, like these sort of no-name accounts that I believe are probably right-wing posters.
Well, yeah, I mean, there have also been some very name accounts not actually using the term dark woke, but certainly going like from what she's describing the phenomenon as, you know, the whole sort of opposing Trump but not opposing the things that he's for. Like, opposing Trump but, like, saying fuck trans people and everything. I mean, plenty of big-name accounts are doing that, trying to see if they can make that happen, and at the same time pretending that trans people somehow lost them the election because they don't want to admit that genocide did.
Leaning into it, and just Democratic establishment people, I think, wanting to be a little bit more reactionary.
Yeah, I mean, they very clearly did. Like, I mean, the way that they just stepped into that, like it was a fucking freshly dried, freshly fluffed duvet cover. They clearly felt like this would be a chance where they could sort of bully their voters into accepting them moving even further to the right.
Yeah, I think what you hit on the nail on the head when you said that like people just didn't really know what to do after Trump won. I think for the establishment Democrat side, the problem is that they just didn't have an answer. They don't have an answer to the rising of fascism because they enabled it. And so when Trump won, like they're like, oh, our
okay. I mean, I'm liking him even better now because I wasn't sure because when you hear they don't have an answer to the rising of fascism, there are two kinds of follow-ups you get there, and one kind of just paints them as kind of inept or something, and the other is to more accurately to say that they've done everything possible to make it happen. So okay, I appreciate that.
Because empty, we don't really have anything to do, and so they started chasing young white men and like, how do we get that? They started.
Yeah, this is why they started doing this thing where they're like, hey, Nazis, Trump isn't serious about murdering people at the border like we are.
Throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. They tried clapping back. They tried throwing trans people under the bus. They're throwing immigrants under the bus. They tried doing all of this during the election cycle as well. And like none of it really stuck. And so now they're kind of like floating lost.
See, I don't know that I'd say that they're floating lost. Because my feeling is they actually do not care as much about winning elections as it occasionally seems like they do when they're shaming people for not voting for them after they have a dogshit campaign with dogshit ideas and dogshit proposals. But I do think that really they did not like having to pretend to give a shit about all of these constituencies, and the first excuse to just pretend that to end the pretense and just join the Republicans and just being fucking transphobic, white supremacist, genocidal fucks was all they needed.
And what do we do under Trump? Just why you see a lot of Democrats throwing their hands up, being like, he lost. Like even Hakeem Jeffries a few weeks ago was like, no, he has all the power. Like Trump's going to do
what do you mean? I don't know about even.
Dude, like, what do we do?
I mean, this is like literally Hakeem Jeffries' only fucking move. Well, that in supporting genocide.
You know, it's like, dog, you're the guy. You're the person who's supposed to know what to do. But they just didn't have an answer to Trump. Because they don't have an answer, they're like, you know what, why not just do what MAGA's doing? Why not just adhere to reactionary sentiment? Why not just go back to like the name calling and the yelling and stuff that worked for them? Because it'll work for us.
Yeah, and I don't... See, it's like, I don't necessarily... It depends what we mean by whether they have, them not having anything or not, or whatever. Because on the one hand, they do have things that could actually, I mean, they would absolutely wipe the floor with the Republicans' elections if they did them. If they could convince people that they were serious about them. Like, things like universal health care, get the health insurance companies out of it, end the fucking genocide, blockade on Israel. Actually writing off student loan debt, which they can just do with a stroke of the pen under the Higher Education Act, stuff that would actually improve millions of people's lives, the lives of people who overwhelmingly, if they do vote, only vote for them. They could do those things. They don't want to do those things. They know perfectly well that they're popular because they've got people whose entire job is to follow the polls on these things. They are not doing this because they are out of ideas. There's a level of accountability that has come into this that has made it difficult for them to do their usual bullshit.
Which is just like, for like the leftist side of it, I understand that leftists don't really have that much power, but like establishment Democrats, you have the money, you have the backing. You could just offer policies to people that gets them to actually, you know, want to vote for you and support you. And
yeah,
then,
but they absolutely, that's the last thing that they're going to do because those policies will piss off their donors. I mean, what they could do short of that if they wanted to is do the thing that Republicans do when they're in the minority in the House and the Senate and use the rule book to their advantage, because there are all sorts of procedural things you can do to drag the proceedings to a grinding halt, make it absolutely agonizing, and essentially force the majority in the Congress to moderate their positions. But they're not doing that. They're not even fucking doing that.
would like win elections and it wouldn't be a problem anyway, but they don't want to do that. So they need another answer.
Yeah.
And that other answer is like dark woke.
Which is just reactionary politics sort of reframed. I mean, when I think of like the most quote unquote dark woke politician.
Okay, I will say this is better than what I thought. When I heard the phrase dark woke, I wasn't entirely sure. I mean, she seems overall to be kind of, have her heart kind of in the right place politically, even if she does tend to be fairly liberal. But when I saw, you know, new radicalization pipeline and dark woke, I wasn't sure, is this going to be like saying that the, you know, the left is getting out of control, they're getting radicalized or something like that. I didn't really think that was the case because it doesn't really seem to be where she comes from. But I am relieved to see that that's not what this is.
Obviously, I think Gavin Newsom, like, he has the one that has really embraced this online strategy and, like, really leaned into it.
Yeah, I mean, including the part of just embracing the far right. You know, embracing fucking white nationalist fuckballs like Charlie Kirk. And doing fucking photo ops, destroying homeless people's stuff. And, I mean, just general sadistic shit. And making life really much worse for trans people in California, which is meant to be a safe state.
And of course, there's other big YouTubers like Kyle Kalinske and others. But in terms of like people with institutional political power, like Gavin Newsom, I think has really embraced it. I mean, he's been doing all this like AI.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a great example as well because he really has nothing to offer the people whose votes the Democrats would actually need. He is very much in the pocket of the real estate industry, the developers, gentrification, all that shit. And he is actually, his instincts are very strongly right-wing, and he does not have any particular aversion to Nazis. So of course he would be leaning into this.
Posting, he shared some sort of like dark woke music video trolling Trump and JD Vance. And as you said, it just like rings really hollow. He could present.
Hello, death of Philippe Deuxième Auguste. Are you new here? And are those, okay, I'm just curious. My display of chat is small, so I can't quite make out what those emojis are. Oh, those are ducks. Like, they were so small, I thought maybe whales, but then also maybe like a beefy arm, like Trogdor. Oh, ducks. Oh, neat. Hello. Thanks for the ducks. Hello, Emily's 1255. Welcome as well. We are learning what dark woke is, and it turns out it's just more right-wing shit. Oh, well, welcome. Welcome, death of Philippe Deuxième Auguste. Lucy? Which Lucy? Oh, well, yeah, true enough. True enough, they are also seabirds. Well, welcome to both of you. And let me just drop the Discord link, since it's on my mind. Let me just drop this in chat real quick. Oh! Well, thank you. It's always nice to know how people I haven't seen before find me. Oh, okay. I was confused because I have a friend called Lucy in Devon in England, and I don't think I've ever seen her on the stream, and I don't know if she even knows I have a stream. And so I heard, but we certainly have talked about ducks because we've like photographed amazing. Oh, you've been lurking. Okay, cool. Well, hello. Where are you joining us from, both of you, by the way, if you don't mind my asking?
Policies. But at the same time, I don't know. I mean, his social team seems to be doing well. He seems to be popular online. So
yeah, except, I mean, if you actually look at how he's pulling dog shit. I mean, it's like, it's in the high 20s is all he can get. That does make him more popular than the rest of the Democrats that they're doing polling on alongside him. But that's still dog shit. Like, I mean, which is really telling. And the fact that they don't see this as a problem also kind of gives the game away. Oh God, Florida. My condolences. Everything I hear from Florida in the past few years is just horrifying.
like, is it resonating with some audience? Like, do you think this is the way to reach young men?
I mean, I think it's resonating with the people who want to say slurs. Like, I think the people who like are already reactionary and don't feel the need that they want to change anything, I think it does resonate with them.
Yeah, and of course the thing is, those people, it does not actually mean anything to resonate to them. Like, as an electoral strategy, this is dog shit, because those people already have a political home where they're very comfortable, where they can say all the slurs they want, and nobody will ever challenge them on it. You know, where they will never be made to feel uncomfortable just because they're huge pieces of shit. So why would they change? I mean, and the number of them who would is just so fucking tiny compared to the number of people who get alienated by this, because of course, you're throwing trans people under the bus, and most queer people, cis or trans, know exactly where that's headed. Know that if somebody's attacking trans people now, they will be attacking cis queers soon enough, because it's an explicitly stated strategy. So you lose them. You lose anyone who is harmed by this. And the thing is, their entire voting base is disproportionately made up of people who are harmed by the thing that they've decided to embrace.
But I don't think it has the material like benefit that I think a lot of people want to pretend that it does. And so I think people like, I have this conversation about Gavin Newsom a lot because people are just like, he's actually fighting back, and I'm like, no, not really. No, he's not. Like, yeah. Gavin Newsom was like hiding in his office when ICE was like patrolling the streets of LA.
And well, not only that, he sent the fucking California Highway Patrol to attack people. Like, yeah, he went to court about Trump activating the California National Guard, but the thing is, that's not because he would not have categorically ruled out doing that himself. I think if anything, he probably would have been just as likely to do it, and only didn't do it because Trump beat him to it.
But Alex Padilla, who's like the senator in California, actually went and interrupted Kristi Noem's press conference and got himself like handcuffed. And so like that's like more than Gavin Newsom was doing, but he's not seen as a fighter in the same way because he's not like tweeting in all caps on Twitter and posting like AI memes about why Trump is bad. And so I think people like the aesthetics of a fighter instead of actually people who are making material change. And I think it's because they're lost. They don't have any guidance.
Yeah, I mean, these people who are doing this very clearly are doing it because they want to do anything but talk about material change, because they are there to prevent material change.
Our leaders are posting AI memes instead of actually being on the ground.
Well, it's weird because even like when people do fight back, it's sort of seen as cringe. Like, I mean, I see these people that are like activists that are still trying to do legitimate social justice work in 2025. And
I mean, and there's more of that going on now is the thing. Like, you could get the idea because it's being completely starved out in the media, but like, there is more resistance to ICE, and in places where you didn't see it the last time. In all sorts of places where you would not expect there to be a huge upsurge of people wanting to kick ICE out of town. Like, I mean, one of the things that's just been wild has been these videos coming out of Chicago, and it'll just say, you know, people throw down against ICE in Chicago, and you look at it, and it's like, holy shit, that's fucking Oak Park! First of all, like, how did ICE end up there, of all places? And second of all, people in Oak Park are throwing down against them? That's not what I didn't have that on my bingo card. Oak Park, for anyone who's not familiar with Chicago, that is where a lot of the money in Chicago lives. If you remember, like, 80s John Hughes films set in Chicago that were always, like, upper middle class bougie families, a lot of them were in Oak Park.
people will be like, we left that in 2020. Like, we're dark woke now, you know, which is so depressing because it's like, okay, but you're just adopting the language and the aesthetics of fascism.
Yeah, and they're like, yep, got it in one.
Reactionary politics to do what? Like, to what? To amass power?
Or to do that.
And then you're going to be woke again? Like, what? Like, it like seems like such a backwards, circular, ridiculous thought.
Yeah, I mean, clearly the idea is they're doing this so that they think that this way they'll never have to be woke again. They think if they can just sort of slam down on the population and say, like, no one in the political class gives a shit what any of you have to say. We're just going to do whatever the fuck we want and what our fucking donors want, and you all can just kind of fuck off. Yeah, for example, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Breakfast Club, all of those movies, all those John Hughes movies in Chicago. Yeah, I mean, I mean, of course, well, no, Oak Park, the last time I was in Oak Park, I mean, I stayed in a hotel there one time when I was in Chicago. That was like 10 years ago. But one thing about the burbs now, I mean, if you spend any time out in the suburbs, I'm in them. Ever since the cities have been getting gentrified to buggery, and working class people and communities of color are being displaced from them, the burbs are where the burbs are where they're showing up a lot of the time. I mean, not Oak Park. Oak Park's still really fucking expensive, as far as I know. But
yeah, I think it's because people like that just don't have any intellectual curiosity. Like, they can't imagine like building a better world outside of electoralism, and so.
See, I think that gives them more credit. I think it isn't that they can't imagine building a better world. It's that they have imagined a better world. And then they absolutely fucking hated it. That was the thing that they decided they had to spend their entire career getting paid substantial amounts of money to prevent.
But when the Democrats lost the election in 2024, they were like, well, that's nothing we can do. That's it. And so I think that was frustrating to them. And so they've essentially given up. Even though people are...
We've tried nothing and we've run out of ideas.
Work on the ground right now in their communities. There are community resources, there are community centers where people are actually being with each other and doing mutual aid and providing resources to each other. But, like, they're not there. They're on Twitter and they're crying about how there's nothing we can do. We must post memes because that's how we end fascism. Because they don't have that same sort of, like...
I mean, or they're saying things like, God, the publisher of the fucking Bulwark was saying... You know, the fight against authoritarianism is too important to support, like, trans rights and civil rights and desegregation and all this stuff. And it's like, what exactly do you object to about fascism at this point when you're listing all the things that you're willing to agree with the fascists on, supposedly in order to beat them? Like...
Community-centered approach.
Yeah, it's interesting to me how quickly like people on the left, like actual leftists and centrists, like sort of are expressing this same ideology of like throwing marginalized people under the bus. Where
And I will say, I have not, amongst centrists, yes. Absolutely amongst centrists, I've seen plenty of it. Amongst, like, sort of vaguely progressive-leaning liberals, some, but, but amongst people that I would actually consider leftists, I have not seen any actual increase in that. It's been like, I mean, for one thing, I would not, to me, if somebody starts in with that shit, then as far as I'm concerned, they're out. Then the fash can have them, basically. But in any case, I don't think I've actually seen an uptick amongst, I mean, to me, a leftist is, at the very least, someone who is anti-capitalist. And amongst those people, I mean, you have some assholes in there, but for the most part, it's the same, more or less, that it's been.
like mainstream centrist Democrats are like, yeah, we.
Oh God, Ezra Klein. Oh, and of course he's interviewing Sarah McBride to justify the attacks on trans people. Yana Kuna.
Just have to ignore these divisive trans issues and whatever Ezra Klein said, like, run anti-choice.
Avoid the divisive trans issues and instead suck up to Charlie Kirk. Because that's not divisive at all. Like, fucking Nazi grifters are not divisive at all.
Candidates, forget abortion, to win. And then people on even further to the left, I think, have embraced that too, where they're like...
Even further to the left than Ezra Klein?
Yeah, it's actually lame to have solidarity,
Who's she talking about, though? See, at this point, now I'm just curious. I mean, because I'm not denying that this thing exists. I've seen plenty of it. What I'm, like, uncertain about is whether I would agree with the characterization of the people doing it that she's thinking of as being on the left or even further to the left than right-wing asshole Ezra Klein.
With marginalized people, that's corny, and we should be able to say slurs because...
Like, who for example?
I want to say that online, and you're a triggered lib if you care about that sort of thing. Where it's like in both cases across the political spectrum on the left, it's like basically all of that resistance is predicated on fucking over marginalized people.
Yeah, I think the base sees what happened in 2020. Like they got Joe Biden elected, and then Joe Biden kind of abandoned them.
Well, yeah, because Joe Biden never wanted them in the first place. Like, Joe Biden's whole slogan was, "Nothing will fundamentally change," which is why he was actually coming in fourth in the primary until the three runners-up, between him and Sanders, who was on top, decided to drop out and hand them all their votes because this country is an absolute fucking joke and that you're allowed to do this kind of shit in a primary. And nobody questions whether that constitutes a free and fair election somehow. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, that was always who fucking Biden was gonna be.
We're like, oh, so we did the woke stuff, and the woke stuff led to nothing happening. So therefore,
yeah, they didn't do it though.
Or the woke stuff is bad. We must have a new strategy now, and they don't understand that in doing what they're doing now, they're leaving behind those marginalized people, and they're not fighting for them in the way that they should be. Because at the end of the day,
like, this is one of the things that happens. I mean, this was also with Clinton as well. You have this thing in U.S. primaries where, normally, the basic standards that are used internationally to judge whether an election is free and fair. Speaking of which, the election in Honduras, absolute fucking joke. Like, the National Electoral Council found evidence of people having hacked into their voting machines and their servers and just changing votes in bulk. Yeah, I just thought I'd mention that before it slipped my mind. But normally it's like, For one thing, all the votes are cast before results are announced. Don't publicly, don't publish any results until everybody has already voted, and everybody gets to vote on the same slate of candidates. At least, if those candidates are all, everybody who is in the right jurisdiction to be voting for those particular candidates. Those are just really, really basic standards, and in U.S. primaries, that just doesn't exist. In U.S. primaries, not only do people not all vote on the same day, and results are being published well before most people have ever even cast their vote, which influences their vote, of course, and influences the ability of people to stay in. Yeah, when he's saying woke stuff, he's talking about, just anti-racism and stuff like that, and just, not being a shithead to trans people. The sort of thing that a certain kind of asshole has decided they don't have to pretend to care about.
They weren't affected by really any of it. They used BLM and Me Too and trans rights as a...
they fucking killed Me Too. Me Too had to go the minute the Democrats decided Biden was going to be the nominee no matter what their voters wanted.
To push for policies that would help them specifically, and when that didn't come to fruition, because nobody was helped, because the Democrats don't care about any of that, they were like, okay, well, fighting for marginalized people didn't help me. So let's just try the racism. Let's just try the reactionary sentiment, because maybe that will help. Maybe that will benefit my life in the way that I want it to be benefited. And so they are totally fine with throwing marginalized people under the bus.
See, there definitely are people who fit this description, although I would personally want more specification of they. Because we haven't really been, other than Gavin Newsom, but, she said, and Ezra Klein, but, those are just right-wingers. What else were they gonna fucking do? She was saying something about people even to the left of Ezra Klein, which is, if you can imagine that. And I'd like to know some examples, because if there are people who I would genuinely consider to be leftists who are doing this shit, then I absolutely would want to call them out. But I haven't seen it.
So long as they get to an avenue of potentially helping them out in the future.
Yeah, I think also what you said is so true of people associating that activism in 2020 culture with early COVID and the trauma that people experience.
Well, this is one thing I absolutely have to say I really like about Taylor Lorenz, is she does not do this thing where people talk about during COVID as if it wasn't still going on, and actually by some metrics worse now than it had been.
During the early days of the pandemic, and kind of just wanting to reject all of it. I think this is why you see so much anger when people wear masks, from leftists, where they're
I will say, as somebody who has worn masks, constantly for, the past nearly 6 years now, I can count on one finger the number of times that I've actually had somebody really give me shit for it. Literally, okay, one time at the Board of Elections, the county building, they wanted us to take our masks off, but because of some bullshit that the Secretary of State, Frank LaRose, had imposed. But in terms of anyone showing any kind of hostility, any personal animus for wearing a mask, I haven't seen it. Fortunately, I'm sure it's around. And I've seen people talk about their experiences in healthcare settings, and it's absolutely terrifying. But I have to say, in my everyday life, I haven't experienced it, so if anyone is, not wearing a mask, as we all really should be in crowded public spaces in particular, because they're afraid of that kind of hostility, I wouldn't overrate that. And the thing is, we just need people to wear the fucking things. And the more people wear the fucking things, the harder it'll be for assholes to be dickheads about it.
oh, you know, you fucking cuck, loser, triggered, live, whatever. And it's like, what? Like, clearly there's some sort of like emotional, like sort of resistance to it. And I do think a lot of these people never had solidarity to begin with. Like, if you are that eager to say slurs, that...
Yeah, I mean, I don't trust anyone who, I mean, if you were able to turn that switch on, then that switch was on to begin with.
The minute there's sort of some vague like conservatism, like resurgence in culture, that you're like immediately just like, great, I can say the R word again, or I can say the N word again, even using a soft A. Like, you kind of probably didn't have that much.
Of course, though, this is December, and this is the month when we get to hear complaints about allegedly not being allowed to say Merry Christmas from the people who spend the other 11 months complaining about not being allowed to say the N word.
Solidarity to begin with.
Honestly, I don't think they had solidarity to begin with. I think a lot of people forgot this because COVID was a lot of stuff going on. A lot of people, even leftists, were partying early COVID. Like, COVID was a thing that we all understood, you know, for the first 4 months. Like, this is probably not good. We should probably fix this pretty soon. They were out partying, and they were defending people who were partying by being.
I will say I did not see this. I mean, I am not going to say that it never happened, but that this was not the attitude that I saw amongst comrades that I'm connected with for the most part. And the interesting thing is there was a study using mobile phone location data. So a really comprehensive study of people's movements in the first couple of months of the pandemic. And it turns out people were already starting to avoid public spaces and, you know, stay home and stuff to avoid spreading COVID before the government told them to. Like, people heard that it was bad and they immediately, judging from these, you know, the mobile phone location data, immediately started to take precautions on their own steam.
Like, oh, well, you can't get in the way of people's living their lives. You know, like, people were called puritanical for saying, hey, maybe you should mask and social distance and stay 6 feet away from people. Like, that was called like puritanical culture. And I think a lot of people kind of pretend like they weren't doing that at the time. And so the people who were doing that at the time.
I mean, I will say, as somebody who was, because I was living, you know, I have like an immunocompromised type issue. You know, and at the time I was living with somebody who was dealing with cancer and therefore really could not get this shit. I've been extremely cautious the entire time, and so I'm very, very sensitive to people trivializing it and have been all along. And I will say, at least amongst leftists, in the leftist circles that I have any connection with, like online and off, that was not the attitude that I saw. I don't know who he's talking about, and I'm sure that there were others who sulked about this, because, I mean, just look at the fucking state of things. But
are the same people who are now okay with like saying slurs because it's like, oh, I'm saying slurs to dunk on a black conservative. I get to call them, you know, whatever slur I want to call them because they're a conservative, so that they should be okay with that. I can say slurs talking about like a trans conservative because they're trans but also conservative, so who cares? And so I think that these are the same contingents of people that have just not been.
Yeah, I mean, those are just asshole people. Those are people who are just looking for an excuse to be able to do reactionary shit.
Forced to reckon with the fact that they actually don't care about marginalized people the way that they claim to, and they've just kind of just been elevated to like the voices in the space without having to interrogate their own beliefs.
Yeah, and this dark woke politics too. It's like assuming these people get power. Say Gavin Newsom gets power with his.
I mean, he was never. I mean, he was never woke to begin with. Let's just be clear. I mean, we're talking about two very different things, I think, here, because if you're talking about leftists who have suddenly decided to let their inner reactionary out, and you're talking about Gavin Newsom, there's convergence there, but, I mean, those circles were very different.
His dark woke bullshit or whatever, which hopefully not, but whatever. I don't think that he's going to turn around and have solidarity with these groups. Like, I think that like that trade-off will be seen as a success.
It's not a trade-off. I mean, that's the thing. For him, it's not a trade-off because he hates these groups. He's been a shithead to these groups his entire career.
We'll be like, see, look, you know, trading off and saying slurs and like leveraging this.
He has been just a fucking soulless like, biologically generated form of AI slop his entire career. Like, before there was AI slop, there was Gavin Newsom, and he that's what he is. He's like, he's a prompt generated by a fucking billionaire.
Our sort of conservative reactionary culture is good. And really, you've just made the left more conservative and reactionary. Like, kind of like what you were saying before. It's like now you've moved the left further towards conservatism instead of trying to move people away from reactionary politics and conservatism.
Yeah, but they're hoping that that conservatism that they move people towards, or that reactionary like sentiment, is just a class-focused reactionary sentiment.
I mean, there are some people I think do, but I don't think that's Gavin Newsom. I mean, a lot of the people they're talking about very much are doing the reactionary shit because they don't want to engage on class politics. They don't want to engage on class politics because their class loyalties are very clear, and the minute they engage, they have to admit, yeah, I'm in the pocket of fucking billionaires. I'm never going to do what workers need because I am an enemy of the workers.
As opposed to like one that actually benefits marginalized people. So they're like, if we get universal health care by somebody who's like dark woke maintaining power,
which is not going to happen. There's no way Gavin Newsom, unless he is forced by an uprising from below, he would fight against a universal health care with his dying breath, probably.
that's good for me. Even if that comes at the back of like trans issues or black issues, like,
well, then it's not universal health care, though. I mean, if it's universal health care except trans people don't get it, then that's not very universal.
oh, we have universal health care, so like that helps everybody. That's why we had a conversation about universality. Like, okay, well, like if we do these things and if we sell out these communities, but we also do things that help those communities and help them, they don't say that part, but and help them, then like it's all for the best. So they think that like the ends justify the means, even if those...
Does anyone seriously think, though, that fucking Gavin Newsom is gonna turn around and piss off the insurance companies just because most people want universal health care?
Ends don't serve the people who it's supposed to serve, and the means actively harm those same communities.
I mean, I just think, and I guess maybe this is the argument of like, is it successful or not? I don't think that that's successful, and I don't think that you have to...
Okay, I'm gonna switch over. So now I and anyone in chat, I guess, who's similarly unaware, now we know what fucking dark woke is, and it sucks. Now, I decided it's been a while since we've looked at looked down the Xander hole, and he has a video here called Miss Rachel Anti-Semitism Scandal, and that sounds dog shit, so why don't we have a look?
Beverage today while you watch stream. For me, I'm having myself a hot chocolate. That's what I got in here. It's caffeinated around the fish, and the fish starts cooking in this. Don't use too much. In this sizes it as an anti-Semite. Let's be clear. There's a big difference between calling for the destruction of Israel and calling Israel genocide. There is the one about Saudi Arabia. Oh no, I think we watched that one already.
Okay, it seems like maybe we don't have to look hard for this one.
Okay, yeah. Based on the recommendations, it's seeming like Smiling Friends is going to be the most popular option. Smile. Okay. I know. At the fishing spot where we fish. Hell yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Equalize the audio a little.
Oh, Philip DeFranco. Okay, here we go. Ms. Rachel crowned Anti-Semite of the Year finalist, which really says everything. I will say, they did actually, I mean, they had Stu Peters in there, who is a literal neo-Nazi. And I would say anyone who shares a platform with Stu Peters, you can be pretty sure is not, does not have any fundamental objection to Nazis. So they had at least one actually anti-Semitic person in there. But of course, overwhelmingly, it was just people who were against genocide.
A little bit, looking good. Okay. Get out your parasite kebabs. Dude, I am going to be ordering myself some kebab the day Hightail comes out. You better believe it. That I'm going to be busting open a nice order of kebab. I'm going to get delivered. I haven't had food delivery in years at this point because I swore it off because it's a waste of money. But just for the meme, and just to lean into being a lazy, good-for-nothing gamer when Hightail comes out, I'm ordering myself some kebab. You guys are going to get to see me eat on stream because I'm going to have to because I'm going to be playing Hightail on stream for so goddamn long that if I don't eat, I'm going to hurt myself from not eating for so... Alright. Philip DeFranco is not a commentary channel for a more perfect America. By no definition. Alright. Okie dokie. 2, 1. Action.
Okay, that took long enough.
Dude, the far-right pro-Israel groups are getting out of control lately. Now, it's bad enough that they were making excuses for a regime, far-right regime, that's not even popular within their own country.
That's actually wrong. When it comes to the genocide, it is extremely popular within the country. And there isn't actually a huge amount of genuine opposition to Netanyahu, even.
That's doing a genocide.
Oh, wow. I believe this may be the first time that fucking Zanderhol has actually acknowledged it. Previously, he had actually slagged off Hassan for pointing out that that Israel was doing a genocide because it was bad for Harris. I mean, previously, he had been very much denying the genocide on every single thing we'd seen him saying about Gaza. So, actually seeing him admit that is really kind of belated, to be honest.
On a neighboring country and its people?
I mean, not a neighboring country. It's literally an occupied territory.
Arguably one motivated by the goal of ethnic cleansing.
Arguably? Like, motherfucker... What do you mean, arguably? Like, they're openly saying that the goal is ethnic cleansing. Does he in more than 2 years of genocide now, and he has not bothered to learn anything at all about Israel. That is just becoming very clear. Because he's hedging in places that you do not hedge if you know anything about this.
And obviously the goal of annexation of territory that does not belong to Israel. That was already one thing, right? That was already bad enough. But now...
I mean, but you seemed pretty cool with it for the first 2 years.
Some of these pro-Israel groups are obviously trying to go on these big campaigns slandering anybody who criticizes Israel, and I mean criticizes it, as an anti-Semite. Let's be clear, there's a big difference between calling for the destruction of Israel and calling Israel genocidal for being genocidal.
Like, okay, but what's wrong with saying that the regime should not exist? Like, a regime, like, leaving aside the nature of the founding ideology of this regime and the stated objectives of this regime, like, a regime that does this ought to be dismantled one way or another. Like, people who do this should not be allowed to stay in power, and the system that put them there needs to cease to exist. Like, how the fuck are you going to act like that is controversial?
But of course, it is the prerogative of excusers of genocide to make excuses for it, and of course to try and...
Yeah, I mean, he says this as somebody who has made excuses for it, so he understands how they feel. But now, this is, when Ms. Rachel has taken a better position on this than he has, I guess he realizes that he has moved too far to the right of the Overtwin window.
Pin some kind of blame or deflect onto those that call it out. You know, the people who call it out are their biggest enemy. And so, this one group...
Well, I mean, I would have said that, but this time he at least acknowledged the genocide. Although, I mean, he very clearly does not understand what words mean, because he's talking about genocide with the purpose of ethnic cleansing. Like, they've been doing ethnic cleansing the whole time. They've been openly doing ethnic cleansing the whole time. Well before the current genocide, that was just a thing they were doing. They founded the country with ethnic cleansing. That has just been like the leitmotif of the entire history of the regime. But he does not seem to know what ethnic cleansing is as opposed to genocide. He doesn't know very much, and he just does not seem to care very much, because he's a schmuck.
This one pro-Israel lobbying group put together an anti-Semite of the year list, where people who are members of the site could vote on who they believe is the biggest anti-Semite of the year. I know that is it's a very interesting topic to vote on, but you'd think that this list would be loaded up with people like Nick Fuentes.
Interestingly, he wasn't on there, but Stu Peters was on there, and Stu Peters actually does belong on such a list.
And whatnot, but no. In fact, the person who won, of all people, was...
I mean, you would expect, if it were genuinely an Nick Fuentes is easy, because Nick Fuentes, actually, you could have on there because he also pretends to support Palestinians, though actually what he's doing is trying to farm clout off of their blood. But, yeah, you could put Donald Trump on that. He would obviously be a nominee because he's anti-Semitic as fuck. He's surrounded himself with anti-Semitic people. But of course they're not on there.
The popular children's entertainer, Miss Rachel, because she has expressed pro-Palestine, or I should say empathetic to Palestinian positions in the past. And this story, I've tried to keep...
Like, what's the distinction he's drawing here? I mean, the way he hedges on this just demonstrates how little he knows. It's like how little he has bothered to inform himself about anything. Because he hedges in places where if you knew anything about it, you would not hedge. Like, there are things where you would kind of use some wiggle words, because there are things where there are uncertainties where even if you know a lot about it, you have to be a bit careful. But he's doing it on things where if you read, like, for 10 minutes or more, any serious source, you would already know there was no hedging needed.
Keep myself from being too spoiled on it, but apparently it's really fucking goofy. So I thought we'd go ahead and dive in. Philip DeFranco apparently did a good job of covering it, so I thought we'd go ahead and dive in and watch his
That's
coverage.
a wonderful freeze frame of Philip DeFranco, by the way.
Does a good job with these things. Now, if you end up enjoying my video, be sure to leave a like and a comment down below. Subscribe and ring the bell icon if you want to see more from me. And hype the video. If you have commented enough on my stuff in the past,
yeah, no, I want to actually watch the fucking...
Okay.
A fighter who defended Hitler, a right-wing...
Palestinians in any way is anti-Semitic. Sympathetic towards, like the idea that shouldn't exist. Take that many people on the radical side of the anti-Israel movement side take that Israel itself is just purely evil and shouldn't exist.
Well, I mean, again, if he engaged even a little, he would know that actually what he's talking about is the mainstream anti-Zionist position, that Israel as a settler colonial state that is explicitly racist should not exist because its existence fundamentally violates Palestinian rights and constitutes a threat to the indigenous population.
You know, like the idea that being empathetic towards Palestinians in any way is anti-Semitic, in Israel's view, is not a good look for Israel.
Joined by the, like...
Well, I mean, I don't think Israel cares too much at this point about what's a good look. I mean, if they were wanted to do things that were a good look, they'd have stopped doing genocide. Like, they can't even stop doing genocide when they're pretending to have a ceasefire.
So Tucker Carlson, an MMA fighter who defended...
I mean, Tucker Carlson belongs on a list of prominent anti-Semites. He is anti-Semitic as fuck. He's a white nationalist.
Hitler, a right-wing creator who denied the Holocaust, and
yes, Stu Peters is a neo-Nazi.
then also a few actresses who have spoken in support of Gaza amid the war. You know, Miss Rachel, she's done that herself, right? While her primary content is for children, she has frequently used her social media platforms to speak up for kids around the world, especially in
That guy in the background of Miss Rachel looks like Bob Saget.
Gaza. And even though Miss Rachel has gotten a lot of criticism for this, she has repeatedly stood her ground.
Well, I mean, it's, fucking Xander, like, you don't really get to have an opinion, because the thing is, she was saying this shit when you were waffling because you didn't want to offend your guy Biden. Like, I mean, it is pathetic watching him pretend to have any kind of moral high ground in all this. Like, it's taken him this long to even acknowledge there's a genocide, and he's still doing just sort of liberal Zionism and trying to find some way to salvage the regime that's doing it.
To continue to try to help children there.
I just put myself in the parents' shoes, and every child in Gaza is somebody's world. There's a great quote from a Jewish text that every life is a universe. They are everything to us. I have very strong morals and values. Write articles, attack me. I know who I am. God knows who I am. I'm here to serve children, and I will.
Damn, I can see why conservatives hate her so much. She is the actual archetype that conservatives want to pretend they are.
I mean, also, it's just so pathetic looking at this, because the thing is that she had the courage to say this stuff when he was fucking waffling. So I don't really think he gets to stand in judgment there.
Conservatives want to be simultaneously the big, tough, mean, no blood from a stone, edgy, confrontational types, while also being the ones who champion kindness, generosity, compassion, and everything that Jesus stands for. See someone like this on the other side of the issue, who is so openly and unapologetically everything they want to make people think they are, at least part of their branding, they can't stand it. Oh my gosh, this must be triggering the fuck out of them.
Will not back down.
Right, and with that, it should be noted she's talked about kids from everywhere. Kids in Gaza, kids in Israel. With caring for kids really just being her primary concern, and she's constantly posted about how no child...
She stood up for kids in U.S.-occupied Haiti, too.
Matter where they are, should worry about hunger, bombing...
like fucking based Miss Rachel.
Illness or conflict. Well, there were, people who supported this list, and Miss Rachel being on it. It also, it received a ton of backlash. So you had politicians like Representative Ro Khanna weighing in, saying, Miss Rachel...
another fucking weather vane. Yeah, I don't get it. Like, I guess that's the idea, because, like, Xanderhole has convinced himself through clearly not bothering to really inform himself about anything, that there is all this opposition to Netanyahu, which, not when it comes to the genocidal shit. Like, and I don't give a shit, because the thing is, if there's that, let's assume that's true. There's a whole lot of opposition to Netanyahu. Let's assume, even though we know it's not true, that we know for a fact this isn't true, that there is mass opposition in Israel to the genocide. But that does not make it better, because that means that this regime, despite that opposition, is able to do that, and people can't do shit about it. So, if we take those counterfactual premises and just accept them, ammesso ma non concesso, then what we end up with is a stronger argument for dismantling the regime. Because if the regime can do this over mass popular opposition, then the regime clearly is not capable of being, reined in from within.
As a preschool teacher who speaks up for starving children in Gaza, saying that is not anti-Semitism. I hope thousands will join me in standing up for her. Also others saying things like Miss Rachel is one of the kindest humans in public life who has preached nothing but love for all children everywhere. It's saying she hasn't uttered a cruel word toward anyone, let alone
I mean, Jon Favreau is not great either. Like, I mean, also pathetic on this.
Anti-Semitism and saying this absolute garbage sets back the fight against anti-Semitism. Right? And with all this,
And like what that's exactly right. What a lot of these people don't realize, I guess.
See, I mean, the thing is that focusing on the omission of Nick Fuentes, I think misses a trick. Because Nick Fuentes should be on there for the same reason as Stu Peters is. But the thing, and the thing is, they probably just ran out of space to put him on there. There's no reason they wouldn't put Nick Fuentes on there if they're putting Stu Peters on there. Because Nick Fuentes also pretends to oppose Zionism and support the Palestinians in order to, again, farm clout with Palestinian blood. If they were serious about anti-Semitism, you would know it because they would include anti-Semites who like Israel. Like fucking Donald Trump, like Steve Bannon, like Steve Miller, like fucking Friedrich Merz, like Keir Starmer. Like, I mean, like that Hagee, the fucking poofy guy. I mean, the place is full of people who hate Jews and love Israel. And the real test of a serious, like, anti-Semitism ranking would be that it, at the very least, acknowledges that it is possible to like Israel and hate Jews, that it is possible to be pro-Israel and anti-Semitic, because actually that is the mainstream form of anti-Semitism. Like, what keeps Nick Fuentes from being fully mainstream is precisely because he isn't pro-Israel. The fact that he's anti-Semitic does not. If he were pro-Israel and just as anti-Semitic as he is, like Donald Trump, I mean, the fucking campaign Stop Anti-Semitism, whatever this group is, they would be fucking funding him.
I don't even know what I mean by these people in this case, because the people behind this group are definitely malicious and they know what they're doing. But like, well-meaning Zionists, for however
There's
many
no such thing as a well-meaning Zionist.
There exist out there. And when I use the term Zionist here, I more so mean Israeli nationalist.
Which is a meaningless fucking term. Again, if you knew the first thing about any of this, you'd know the term Israeli nationalist itself doesn't make any sense because Israel says there is no such thing as an Israeli nation. Like, people have gone to court in Israel, to Israeli courts, to have, there is a section on IDs. I think maybe I heard that it was being taken off for other reasons now. But it had your ethnicity on there, and they called it nationality. And people wanted to put Israeli as their nationality, since that is their citizenship. And so they went to court so that they wouldn't be Jewish or Arab or whatever. And the court said no, because there's no such thing as an Israeli nation. Israel is merely the state of the Jewish people in all of the world, and all this shit. So the idea Israeli nationalist itself is a meaningless fucking term. If you know anything about this, that is one of the first things you would know.
Typically how the term Zionist is used nowadays. If you believe that Israel should not be glassed, that makes you a Zionist by definition.
Well, I mean, yes, that's a shitty opinion. Like, look at what you're gonna try to, if you're gonna say this, you have to make the argument for why the regime should exist, despite the fact that we're seeing what it's doing, and we're seeing absolutely no evidence that it intends to ever stop it unless somebody stops them.
So, when I say this, know that I basically mean Israeli nationalists.
Like, that actually manages to be less... that is an anti-clarification. That is an ambiguation.
Israeli nationalist position is so intertwined with these anti-Semitism rhetoric groups that we've been seeing all over the place lately. The right, the far right, the Nazi side of the right, has been using their rhetoric about how criticizing Israel is anti-Semitism to lend credence to otherwise insane, unbelievable conspiracy theories.
Motherfucker, like, this guy, a big part of his clout that he managed to farm in his time on YouTube is that he's supposedly a guy who is an expert on the far right because he's an ex-Nazi. And he's acting like this is a new thing. They've been doing this all along. Yeah, there's a renewed effort now because Israel's name is like fucking dog shit at this point. Israel, you know, like nobody really wants to defend Israel at this point without, you know, because everybody can see what Israel is doing. So obviously there's a renewed effort, but they've been doing this all along. They've been trying to weasel their way into Palestinian solidarity movement spaces and hijack them and turn them into some anti-Semitic Nazi bullshit all along. Like, as long as I've been involved with Palestinian solidarity work, and before that, like, we're talking decades, they've always been there. Like, so this isn't a new thing. Nick Fuentes is not the first person to do that. He's not even the most successful. Alison Weir, I think, earns that title. And it took ages to kick her out because she was really slick with her shit. Her group is called If Americans Knew. And a lot of what they put out is just unobjectionable, accurate, factual information about Palestine. But if you actually look at their politics, if you look at their organization and who's on their board, they're white nationalists. They're white nationalists with very openly acknowledged ties to the CIA.
Nick Fuentes' current rise in popularity is due in large part to the fact that the rest of the right is not willing to say the quiet part out loud when it comes to Israel. They're not willing to say what, frankly, everyone knows is the case, which is that, I mean, fucking hell. Y'all know Netanyahu was so unpopular when he got elected that the biggest riots and protests in Israel's history happened in the streets of its capital and major cities, right? Like, even in Israel, Netanyahu and his administration aren't that popular.
Well, no, they weren't against Netanyahu generally. They were specifically against his judicial reform. God, I fucking... At least Destiny will look at a Wikipedia for 5 minutes before talking about something.
So when you've got broader America, of course people are not exactly cheering and excited about billions of U.S. tax dollars going to support this far-right regime that commits genocide and calls anyone who criticizes it anti-Semitic.
Okay, but I just noticed the time, and it is time to wrap up. Thanks to everyone who joined in. I hope you enjoy the stream. I will be back tomorrow at 11:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. And I look forward to seeing you then. Yeah, I mean, yeah, acknowledgement that a state is genocidal and calling to abolish it aren't the same thing. Yes, true. But, I mean, they really ought to follow, one should follow from the other. And with that, good night, and good to see you, Emily, good to see you, Auguste Philippe. Or Philippe Auguste. C'était ça.